Well, Franklin County has a brand new coach, but he is. This is not his first year as a head man. We're pleased to have him back from Ohio. Glad you got back. Please welcome Eric Ebrens from Franklin County. You're welcome.
Thank you. Once again, I'd like to thank OA and their administration, everyone, for having us here. How I got to Franklin County, or back to Franklin County, I'll kind of start there. When I first got out of college, I went to NKU and I played for a good coach, Ken Shields, and he kind of got me into the coaching bug through working camps and stuff, so it got me into education. And so I got out of NKU and I moved back to Brookville. I went to Brookville High School. Of course, now it's Franklin County. And so I moved back to Brookville, and I'm trying to find a teaching job because I had social studies. And I ended up actually teaching at St. Louis School out over here in Batesville for 3 or 4 years. And my first coaching job was at Franklin County. I was the freshman coach under Jim Pugh. And I learned a lot under him, and I was coached there for a couple years. And then Diz actually gave me a call over at East Central that they were needing a varsity assistant. And so I went and talked to Randy Snodgrass, and we kind of got along. And next thing you know, I'm teaching at St. Louis and driving to East Central as their varsity assistant. Eventually, I got a teaching job there. Randy left. Diz got the job, and Diz and I coached together for numerous years, and we had a great run. And then I ended up. The job opened up at Harrison after Steve stepped down. And so I went over to Harrison, and earlier today we had a coach from Rising Sun talking about the differences, I believe, between Kentucky and Indiana. So I thought I'd bring a couple of those up, some little stories I have from my foray across the border. First off, in Harrison, Ohio, I'm sure most of you guys all know, it's just right across the border there. They think anything west of Harrison is like another world, okay? And so, now where do you live? I got those questions. But some differences in Ohio basketball versus Indiana basketball. Number one is the freshmen play before the JV. You play freshman, JV, varsity every game. That's how it goes. They start at 4:30, and you go on down the line. You don't take on the road. You don't take balls or anything. You just show up. Here you are. Well, the freshmen always take a different bus. So my first game at Harrison, I'm thinking, okay, we're playing Taylor. Now granted, Harrison, they'd had a couple rough years. They were 0-21 before, but I'm thinking we're going to beat Taylor my first game, and I'm going to be the savior. So we go to Taylor and walk up the steps, and Coach Blackwell, you've been there, right? You're familiar with it? The old gym, over top of the swimming pool, facilities. So we're over top of the swimming pool. Our locker room's down by the swimming pool. It's humid, it's hot, it's miserable. The gym has, it's loud. The floor shakes and bounces. Third quarter, we have to stop the game because of condensation. So that's just one thing. At Harrison, we had a great facility, but everywhere else we went, it wasn't so great. My third game on the road, well, let me regress. My first game, I'm walking up, getting ready to get on the bus, and we have cheerleaders on the bus. The cheerleaders ride with the team. Now, how does that work? I was like, I walked on, I'm just dumbfounded. But so they, and that was like every game. I mean, not just that game because it was close. It was every game, cheerleaders on the bus. My third game, we go to Glen Estee. Glen Estee is a big school, but it's football. Football's king in Ohio. Basketball's kind of like third or fourth down the pecking order. And so, again, their gym is upstairs, and it looks like a prison. There is one set of bleachers over on one side of the floor, and the bench is just about like this. And when you wanted to see what the team fouls or anything like that, you kind of had to lean out over and look above the bench to see what was going on. So my point is that I'm glad to be back in Indiana because we have great coaches and great facilities. With the freshmen playing before games, coaches never got the opportunity to sit and talk. You know how you sit and talk and get to know one another and how the season's going, and wife's nagging at me, blah blah blah. Coaches never got to do that in Ohio. It was business, and so I'm just glad to be back. I see a lot of familiar faces out there, which is nice. My last little story about Harrison is we have an old junior high. It says like 1927, big stone over top of the entryway. And at Harrison, like, wrestling's the be-all and end-all. The guy runs it. He does a nice job. Well, they have these WrestleManias in our facility. We had like an activity center, and so they would invite 20 wrestling teams, and the parking lots would be full, and it'd be all day, and they'd be puking and not eating for 3 days and then gorging themselves. You know what wrestlers do. And so one of these WrestleManias butted up against a home basketball game. So my AD says, well, why don't we move it to the junior high? I said, no. He said, well, we don't have anywhere to go. You can either play it at home at the junior high, and the team we played was Winton Woods, which at the time, they were very good. They had a couple Division I players. And I said, well, I don't want to play Winton Woods twice at their place. So, twisted my arm. Okay, we go play at the junior high. Well, the junior high gym was a stage. It had the gym, and then they opened these doors, and there was seating, like arena-style seating. And so half of it was a stage, and then you had a small row of bleachers behind you. And I called the Winton Woods coach and gave him the heads up because I knew he was really good and we weren't really good. Thinking that he wouldn't be too pissed, he was pissed. So anyway, that was the only time we played there. But once again, it's and then of course, so we get our tails kicked and we head back over to WrestleMania because by then it was over. But all the mats were still everywhere, and you open the door and it's the god-awfulest stench. Not only did you stink it up, on the floor, then you got to go in and you smell the remnants of WrestleMania. So once again, I'm glad to be back in Indiana coaching. After my stint at Harrison for 5 years, I kind of sat out for a year. Got to coach my daughter. She's going to be a freshman. So I was coaching at St. Michael's, 7th and 8th grade boys, and that was interesting. And then my daughter, I coached her class, and then I caught wind that the basketball coach at Franklin County had resigned late in July, and 5 days later, on August 3rd, I was hired as the basketball coach. I'm teaching there, kind of worked out well, so I kind of came back home, and our AD, Todd, you guys know, some of you know Todd, well, of course, he won the state in wrestling. So we go back to the gym, he's walking me through some of the changes, and I remember when I first started coaching, the mezzanine behind the bleachers, that's where the freshmen practiced. Guess what's there now? Wrestling mats. So, I can't seem to get away from it, but once again, I am glad to be back. But on to Franklin County. I think I've assembled a pretty good staff. As Diz mentioned earlier, Mark Foster is going to be my varsity assistant. Another Marion guy, played at Marion. I know you like those guys. Yeah, you like him? Okay. All right, good. He'll do a good job. He's a longtime coach at Summon Dearborn Middle School with Diz. I actually coached Mark when I first got out of college. He was a senior at Franklin County. So as long as we can get along through the season, hopefully everything will be okay. And then my JV coach is Justin Ratz. Again, he played at Franklin County. He lives in the community. He's vested. He wants to do all the things that we need to do to help make the program the best it could be. My freshman coach is Derek Stang, which he's a teacher in the building. He's going to be the baseball coach. Again, he played at Franklin County for Josh. I'm just excited to have those young guys there to be a part of it. As far as Franklin County basketball itself, I'm their third head coach in 3 years. Obviously, they've had some turnover and some issues. I'm hoping, with me being in the community, that it'll be a fairly long run, but you never know, right, in this job. So, but players returning, as I said, August 3rd is when I got the job. So I've seen him in open gym and I've watched some film. I think, Tyler Miller obviously can be a good player if he learns that you got to get back on defense when you shoot it and that sort of stuff, and maybe make your other teammates better by passing it. So we've had a few conversations in open gyms about that so far. But I think he should be okay. Leighton Bowling's another senior that saw minutes, but he got hurt last year. But I've been impressed with him. He's kind of lanky. He's about 6'2", 6'3". We have brothers Sam Kreider, who is the senior. Ben Kreider's a sophomore. I think both of those guys will have an opportunity at the varsity level at some point, whether they find their right role. For us, it will be all about role identity and them accepting their roles and making them their own. The big kid, I've got a Brandon Ball. He's a senior this year. He played some down the stretch. I think he can do some things. He just needs to get tougher. You guys know how it is. Until you lace him up for real, until you practice, the lights go on, all that stuff. Open gym's great, but you really don't know what you have until it gets serious. Dylan Little's a sophomore. I have a really good sophomore bunch. Probably 10 or 12 are out right now. We'll see how that goes. As far as our season, last year they were 8-15. This year, our first 8 games, we only have 2 at home. And Nabi, thanks for letting me know about our schedule, because again, Todd's got wrestling on the brain, so I didn't know. Maybe if we play each other, we'll just shoot horse for it. But after January 8th, we have 8 out of 14 at home. So hopefully we get through that early part of the season. We get to open up down at Coach Blackwell's place. We get to open their new gym. I think that'll be exciting. Hopefully I'll remember to bring basketballs. If not, I'm sure he'll slide those over to us. As far as any other key games, I'd like to schedule a game maybe at the old high school. This kind of ties in at the beginning. And because, once again, we host the wrestling sectional on a day of a home game. So that's how we could get it to the old high school. And lo and behold, we play Talawanda, a team from Ohio. And so Todd was like, well, I don't think that would be good. There's only one toilet in the locker room, and, the facilities are bad. And I said, they're from Ohio. They're used to it. So so hopefully they will, that will happen. And I look forward to seeing all the coaches, and I'm glad I'm back. And once again, thanks for this opportunity. Thank you.